concerned, will really put themselves in a premier position. I watched a KLM video. Now, not a video, it was marketing. But KLM over the years has not, they have slowly been going downhill, which as somebody who married a Dutchman, I find quite sad. But nevertheless, and I watched this video yesterday, and the reassurance and the feeling of security that it gave me, watching this man clean very carefully up round the side part of the seat where your fingers may go as you lever yourself out. And I thought, yes, I would be very happy to travel on KLM. And if other airlines don't pick this up quick enough, they are going to find that whereas KLM was in the second tier, and I think has probably gone up to the first tier, they will now be in the second tier, and it may have an effect on their business.
Mm. It will be very interesting to watch the leisure industry, especially in the UK, I think, but certainly around the world, and see, you know, which standards are actually achieved and maintained. It's just like security and you know, maintenance standards on airplanes. You know, I think it will just become another audited routine. Well, you have to hope that it becomes that. In terms of other questions about house sitting post-COVID, we've talked about hygiene standards, we've talked about access to travel, or maybe we should talk more about that. PJ, do you have a sense of which airlines, which travel facilities are going to last the course and perhaps be more available sooner rather than later?
That's actually quite a hard question to answer, because when we went into this, there was, I should say, I won't swear, but please hear the bad language behind what I'm saying with regards to somebody called Simon Calder, who believes he speaks for the industry, and in actual fact has done a vast amount of damage. And he's done a lot of damage to, particularly to tour operators. And the reason for this is because of something called the Package Travel Directive. And that directive was written pre any idea that we were ever going to have a global pandemic. And it said, you can have your money back. If we cancel, you can have your money back in 14 days. Well, obviously that has not. Oh, hello.
Who is that?
This is Lola.
Lola.
Hello, Lola.
This is just coming
to say hello.
Yes. You're
Sorry,
very welcome. You know, it's just not been possible. And these organizations are desperately trying to manage customer expectation, their cash flow, and refunds, and it is an incredible balancing act. Hotels are in a similar situation. I know 2 properties, independent properties, that have just sold up. They're not going to be hotels anymore. They've sold to developers who are going to turn them into apartments and flats. So it really is going to be a question of not so much what do you look like from the outside, hotel or tour operator or whatever, but what is going on inside with your cash flow. As far as the center parks of this world, they'll survive. Some of the haven properties may not. The bigger ones might, especially those that have bigger gaps between their cabins and you know, whatever else accommodation that they've, those that have got very close together, people may actually be a little bit more concerned. I think again, this is a, if they get on the, I don't want to call it a bandwagon because that's rather a derogatory term, and I mean that if they get in front of the curve with, this is what we're going to do for your health, your safety, your security, our cleanliness, and that sort of thing, they're the ones that are going to survive best. And those that are behind the curve, well, it is debatable in some cases. But as far as travel is concerned, I would agree with Glenn totally. I don't think we're going to see long haul travel until late spring, early summer next year.
Wow.
And they are talking about the airline industry not being back to 2019 levels until 2024. So, you know, that gives you an idea. I had the most unfortunate problem of telling a client yesterday that he couldn't go to his daughter's wedding in September because 2 American airlines, and this is end of September, have cancelled the flight. Now, they obviously don't think that they're going to be able to operate a full service and not on his dates at the end of September. So, you know, that they are taking it seriously, no matter what certain people across the pond suggest.
Well, that will be dramatic in terms of it's changing the landscape and certainly opportunities for long haul travel. Well, it would be interesting to see what happens, perhaps not just in airlines, but trains, crossing continents by train, that kind of thing. It will be interesting to see what happens. I
think that will go, providing again, I read something about oh God, my brain's gone. This is my COVID brain. It's gone completely mush. Orient Express, and they are already putting out what they're doing to be cleaner and more healthy and so on and so forth. And they're putting together little airline type facilities kits for their passengers.
Great. And what about cruise liners? Are they doing the same?
I haven't read anything about them yet, and they've probably gone further down than anybody because, you know, Princess Lines and Japan and all this, you know, people are remembering this. So they've got a bigger mountain to climb. And some clients who were very much ocean cruisers have actually said to me, we're not going to book anything for next year. Next year.
Wow.
Ocean cruising wise, but we want to cruise. And I said, well, you've got river cruising as an option. And that the problems of river cruising are in some respects even greater than ocean cruising because there's more on and off, on and off, on and off, and the possibility of spreading, the R factor. Whereas, of course, ocean cruising, you've got days at sea, so everything is a little bit more contained, but that in itself is a problem. I'm sorry, I'm aware of the fact that I'm sounding like the worst possible negative Cassandra, and I don't mean to. You know, I'd love to sound more positive, but at the same time, I'm a realist.
Well, I think it's fascinating to hear your industry inside track knowledge because, you know, we all read the press, but to have someone who's reading the trade press for travel, I think does give us some good insights. We should check in with you again, PJ, in a few weeks' time, just to see how the perspective is, you know, further down the line.
I mean, believe me, I would like to be that rather than that, I promise.
Yeah.
Mary, you were sticking a finger.
Yes, I was just, thank you, wasn't I was just curious how, you know, you talked about the Orient Express. How would they imagine people were going to get to these places to get on the train? Do you see what I mean? If you can't cross borders and get across country, how it would be, do you see what I mean? It would only be the people from that country where the train starts that would be able to, I'm trying to work it out in my head, would be able to actually board it.
Agreed. In today's circumstances, but they are pushing themselves into the post-COVID we've been unlocked, and this is what you can now expect from us.
I see. Thank
And
you.
I think the Blue Train and Rocky Mountaineer will be doing very similar things. At the moment, people want to dream about what they can have in the future. At least some do, the more optimistic do. I mean, I have dreaming sessions with a couple of clients, and we've had one and we've got another one planned in June. They're not going to be able to book what they want to do for a long time, but they want to talk about it. They want to feel it. They want to see some of the pictures that I found for them. Just literally to sort of open things up, because it's very easy to kind of do that. And they don't want to. They want their world opened up. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're so right, PJ. I have to say, even though I've only really house sat in Europe and the UK, I'm now desperate to go to Mexico, India. I want to go, you know, to Australia. I just want to go as far as possible. So I'm dreaming about these, what currently feel like impossible opportunities, but I'm sure they will come one day soon. I mean, I really hope they do.
I would agree one day. Not so sure about the soon, but I love the idea. People will know that Mary does intuitive vision board workshops, and I was on one, and I've been looking at the one that I did with her, because I'm a total believer that vision boards are a brilliant way to focus your mind and to actually kind of open up some of the channels. And I've been putting things on my board of what I want to happen in the future.
I started doing those virtually. Perhaps you can have one for your community, Lamia, a big virtual visioning session.
That's a great idea. I've done 3 of yours, Mary. I love them. In fact, HouseSit kind of evolved through the 3 vision boards. Yes, so it started out with a few places travel, and then it became more exotic and so on. So yeah, we should do a HouseSit vision board session. Let's plan that together.
Now that's an interesting idea for Thames Valley as well.
It's a very interesting idea. Yes, Mary will have to talk to you privately about that.
Indeed.
So guys, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I did have a question. Who is flying at the moment? Are they some business people, or some people who are still trying to get home, or what is happening? Why are we still debating whether people can come in through airports or not?
Well, yes, some airlines are flying limited services. Believe it or not, there's an almost full service between the Netherlands and Sweden. Don't ask me, I haven't worked that one out. A few businessmen. A lot of the planes that you see are not passenger, they're cargo, because cargo obviously still has to come in. I am still very irritated by the fact that when we had this problem initially, we allowed 15 full flights to come in from northern Italy without any form of sanitization, and they then dispensed around the country. Now, am I joining too many dots and adding 4 and getting 27? Possibly. But I'm now glad that we are going to have some sort of control about the coming in. But we do need to be much more mindful of this, because if we're not, the second spike that they have been predicting will happen.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody I know to be hit by it.
Yes,
but
indeed.
yes, there are still flights. We still have 39 people stuck. When we started, it was 177, and we've gradually been getting them back. But as Glenn will, I'm sure, validate, New Zealand was a particular issue if you happen to be in the South Island, because they very, very quickly closed off inter-island transport, which meant if you were in the south, you just couldn't get to the north. There are airports in the south, but much more limited for international flights. Auckland in the north is the main one. And we actually had some clients who borrowed a car. They were in the south and they thought, fine, can't fly, we'll go across on the ferry. So they drove almost the length of the South Island, got to the ferry and were told, no way, sorry, closed, you can't come. So they had to drive all the way back again.
Goodness me, that's incredible.
Mm.
Well, they eradicated the virus pretty quickly.
Because they took what we might call draconian action,
Mm.
but we were behind the curve. And I had this feeling that we were playing this sort of catch up all the time.
Mm.
But there you go.
Yes.
So still got a few out there, but they're in places like Indonesia and the Philippines, and they're not close to major airports. And that's what has stopped them traveling back.
And is this across your company or is it your personal?
Oh, no, not mine. No. I was extremely fortunate that I only had 7 clients out there. We have something called the duty office, which is our 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365-day a year travel counsellors. So they actually allow me to get some sleep, which I bless them for very much. And
must
they
have been
help.
a tough few weeks.
I actually say to people, I stopped pulling my hair out because at the rate I was going, I would have ended up bald. It really was horrendous. And I like to think, this may not be totally the truth, but I like to think that I got the last 2 flights on the last flight out of Gran Canaria before they closed the hotel, the airline closed down, and the island closed down.
Goodness me.
But, you know, it was pretty hairy, I have to say. But
So Glenn, yes, you have a question.
yes, Glenn wanted to.
You know, just in regard to people being stuck, there are some house sitting friends we know that were in the Galapagos when all this started, and they are still on an island in the Galapagos.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, the hotel basically stopped the staff, you know, turning up, etc. They were still paying for the hotel accommodation, but there's no workers there. You know, they're getting provided with sheets and things. I'm not sure what's going on as far as food and that goes, and they've just had to actually move hotels in the last 2 days. But yeah, they're just stuck on one of the islands in the Galapagos with no sign of being able to get out at all.
Goodness me, that's quite a story. They'd be interesting to interview, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I'm sure they've had a very interesting time there.
Yeah. Oh, well, you have to tell me who they are privately in a message. So one last request then. If you booked flights, would you take insurance to make sure that there was some cover? Or as periodic house sitters or full-time house sitters, do you not take insurance? Does anyone have an opinion on that? I mean, given the COVID crisis and the difficulty in paying back, I mean, would it matter in the situation? Perhaps each one of us has an answer for that. I mean, Glenn, first of all, did you have flights booked to Europe?
Fortunately, we did not. We were coming to Italy, and Jacqueline was showed great foresight and said, let's not book anything yet to see what happens. So we didn't actually have to cancel flights, which was great. However, our river cruise, which was due to start tomorrow, we had in fact paid a deposit on that, and we waited for them to cancel, and we got our money back, which is great. But we always have travel insurance as full-time sitters and that. But even if we didn't, I think even going forward, you know, this COVID sort of scenario has highlighted to a lot of people what are general exclusions in travel insurance policies, and PJ would be very familiar with that. You know, war and pestilence, but you know, sometimes pandemic listed on certain policies, and so you're not covered anyway. Yeah. So you know, we do travel insurance as a matter of course, just for other things, and primarily if we have to repatriate ourselves back to Australia for some major medical scenario. But yeah, we will fly again when we can, and we'll take insurance. Obviously, having looked at all the small print to see what we do and don't get covered for.
Okay, great. Mary,
You're
how about you?
absolutely right, Glenn. That sorry,
No, carry on.
that the insurance companies are now saying that COVID is an act of God and they're not covering. So you need to be really careful if, for instance, you have lung problems that are not COVID related and you manage to pick up a problem while you're traveling. Most insurers are now going to try and relate it back to COVID if COVID still, is still an issue. So yes, I believe that nobody should ever travel without insurance. It's like going shopping without knickers, is how I put it. Sorry, that's my weird sense
Only
of
some
humour.
people do.
Well, if they do, that's their business. Too much information. But as far as covering your health, you do need to be careful. If there are any issues that you leave the UK with, they will say it's a known issue and therefore it's excluded. So one of the suggestions is now that you get a doctor's letter before you go that you've had a complete top to toe from your medic and your doctor has said you have no known issues, and that will actually protect you if insurance companies try, because obviously they want you to pay, but they don't want to pay you. That's the fact of insurance life. So if you've got that as your protection, then you've got a better case.
Mm. And so, Mary, as someone who's house sitting locally but thinking of house sitting abroad, would you take an insurance?
Oh, I would. I think it sounds like I'm a long way off house sitting abroad, but I would. But I'm hearing what PJ says and balancing out how much it might cost to. Well, I'm imagining that we might have extended passports, which would be like health passes to say that we've been checked for COVID and all sorts of things, like a pet passport.
We used to have them in Africa. You used to carry a little certificate to say you'd had this and that and the inoculations and so on.
Yeah, so I would. Yes, I would.
Okay.
Definitely.
And Jeanette, do you have any feeling about that?
Yeah, I think it's very sensible to take out insurance. Yeah, anytime I've ever travelled, I've always taken insurance out.
Right. And Karen, do you also shop with your knickers on? Do you take insurance when you travel?
I couldn't, you might well think that. I couldn't possibly comment. Yeah, I always go for worldwide and annual travel insurance, and having sort of teen kids, because they're always on trips to Ypres and various places, and my daughter last year went to Uganda, so it was worthwhile getting a family unit and for worldwide as well. The kind of question is also, if you go somewhere, maybe Glenn could answer this, when you go, maybe different if you're based in Australia, where my daughter was going for a 4-month stint, and your holiday insurance is really no more than 30 days. So I kind of didn't tell them. I hope no one's listening from the insurance world. But it would be, if there was an issue, it would be when the issue starts. So that was just a slight dodgy thing, but I would always have it. And my question is just about, I have insurance that will expire in August. I've got a few outstanding flight purchases that have now been cancelled, KLM, and I've got some money back from Eurostar and a few things. And I bought my daughter's ticket through a shop called Apodo, and so she was able to go the outward bound flight, but not the return. And we've had to buy another flight for the return because of COVID. So I'm still trying to get 2 refunds back. But again, I don't know whether to renew my insurance in August with the same insurer to continue cover, or whether, and I don't know whether I need to make a claim on that insurance yet. So it's all, I'm taking advice from Simon Calder, as you said, PJ. as to, I'm just trying to hold my passion, as it were, and wait until the flight is cancelled, and then I can make an application and that kind of thing. But it makes you question of whether I can shop around and get a new insurance in August, or whether I just take a renewal in order to continue my service with them and then make a retrospective claim if I need to. So I'm just holding on to that thought at the minute, but it's certainly something I would do go forward, and for me and the kids it would be together as an annual family thing.
I don't think an insurance company, any insurance company, would use loyalty as any form of structure. You might be able to negotiate a better deal if you do renew in August. I think that we will see that sort of raise in the costs as people start to travel again. So if you've got it in place, you might well get a better deal that way.
Good.
Thank you. That's really
I'll
helpful.
have a look and see what happens on the renewal. As you say, there'll be a few exclusions and things. So and it might depend on where you travel and things. So
yeah.
Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you one and all for taking part. It's been a really interesting session today. I've really enjoyed the discussion. I mean, PJ, your insights into travel at the moment and the challenges thereof. Glenn, your insights from down under. Karen and Jeanette, your sort of explorations and questions about, well, how to and how is it safe and how can we make it safer and enjoyable. And Mary, your insights about discovering locally, but also perhaps looking beyond. It's been really, really great. So thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Until the next HouseSit Hangout, enjoy your travel dreams.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Lami.
Bye.